Hey you, it's CovertGo2, and today we're going to read cards from the new Alchemy expansion and see if they're good for Alchemy, Historic Brawl, Historic, etc., things like that. This is from Lost Caverns of Ixalan Alchemy, which is available on MTG Arena today. Rabble, 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 insert comment about hating Alchemy, generic Alchemy hating comments in the chat. Rabble, rabble, meme, meme, rabble, rabble, no questions. Cogwork Progenitor is 1 and a white for a rare 2/2 artifact creature gnome. At the beginning of your end step, you may exile another artifact you control or an artifact card in your graveyard. If you do, seek an artifact card. That card perpetually has power and toughness 1/1 and becomes a gnome creature in addition to its other types. So seek will go to hand. I like that it's at the beginning of the end step instead of the next upkeep, which means you can probably get immediate value off this. The artifact has to be in play or it can be in a graveyard. In a graveyard is just straight up value. In play, you can get rid of something like a treasure token or a gnome token, and you can get a new artifact out of your deck. This card is cool. Immediately, I'm thinking of, is it Jan Jansen, the Mardu artifact sacrifice commander that I've never played? This looks like a perfect card for that. I also immediately think of Oswald. Oswald Fiddlebender seems like a perfect home for this card. I think there will be a couple. I think that this will fit into a few Historic Brawl decks. Alchemy, a little bit tougher. I'm sure that there's an artifact-ish deck there, but when I think of Alchemy, I think of Rusko, and I think of Oracle of the Alpha, and I think of the One Ring. So I don't know. One Ring is nerfed in Alchemy now, but still a very good card. I don't know if this card is the kind of value engine that can keep up with those things that I mentioned. Radiant Smite, 1 and a white, uncommon instant, destroy target creature with power 4 or greater. If you weren't the starting player, you gain 4 life. Cycling, white, when you cycle this, if you weren't the starting player, you gain 2 life. Is this insane? See, this is, oh god, do I love the Alchemy stuff that like hinges on not being the starting player. This is the kind of thing that shoves it into Mono Red's face. Although Mono Red doesn't have a bunch of power 4 or greater. They aspire to. Maybe this gets a Godric sometimes. But the fact that you can just cycle this, gain 2 life, and draw a new card for just 1 mana, I think this is a very playable card. In Historic Brawl, I'm not absolutely positive. But just the fact that it cycles, you can just run it. It's like the opportunity cost is so low. This card is good. I'm excited about this card. Craft. If you are triggered by watching me spend wild cards, you can turn this video off now because I'm going to try to remember to craft things unless I think they're completely stone unplayable. All right. Legion's Chant. 2 white, rare, starting intensity 3. It's a sorcery chorus. Return any number of creature cards with total mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Any number? X or less. X is, this is intensity. So any number just on its own from the beginning, return any number of creature cards X or less to the battlefield. All chorus cards you own. You own? Like even the ones in my binder? All chorus cards you own intensify by 1, so they get better. This has to be busted somehow. Any number is insane, so like try to find a way to flip your deck over and bring it all out with a Legion's Chant. I mean, this card on its own, like recently I played an Amalia Luris deck in Historic Brawl. This goes in there easily, but there's got to be some other cool stuff. And it's going to be interesting to see how many other chorus type of sorceries and spells exist, so that this is in singleton buffing more than just itself. Obviously, Historic Brawl is what I play the most. In Standard, there's got to be something. Like this, any number is a silly thing to have on a Magic card. Usually you can find a way to bust that. Total mana value 3, not everything 3 or less. Return any number of creature cards with total mana value X or less. Right. So we need a bunch of zeros. Okay, so we need like ornithopters and stuff. Man, there's still got to be something we can do. It is definitely an ambitious card. Still a good card. I would definitely run it in that Amalia Luris thing anyway. Helping Hand might be just better, and that's currently in standard. So I guess I am less high on it now, understanding the restriction. But that's why we have chat. So that you guys don't have to leave comments to yell at me that I don't care about because I read them 4 days after this airs, and I'm not going to re-record it. Anyhow. Valiant Bat Rider. It's my nickname in high school. 2 and a white 3/3 Human Knight rare flyer. Love it already, actually. Whenever this deals combat damage to a player, that player gets a boon with a one-time boon. A one-time boon. Whenever it deals damage, they get a one-time boon. That's misleading, right? They get a boon each time you hit them, right? It's not a only once a game thing. When you cast a non-creature spell, you may pay 1. If you don't, each opponent draws a card. A little Esper Sentinel in there, kinda. But if you're hitting them every turn, they keep acquiring boons, right? I mean, I love me some Esper Sentinel. I love me some stacks, kind of. Not really, but a little bit. I love card advantage. It is a 3/3 flyer for 3. Yeah, I like it. There's a few decks that, like, basically Adeline is the first thing that comes to mind. Kind of obvious, but there's other human type decks. Maybe I don't think we play this in Catilda, but like in Sigarda or things like that. And in standard, I think it'll be a little too slow, but I'm excited to try it out in some white aggro piles. But white aggro doesn't do a lot in Historic Brawl right now, I don't think. Or sorry, in Alchemy rather. It is a cool card. I like this effect. Herald's Reveal. Blue sorcery, uncommon, draw a card. If a permanent you controlled explored this turn, seek a Merfolk card instead. Ah! Why did it have to be instead? It should be draw a card and seek a card if you explored to really put some upside on explore. So you have to have Merfolk in your deck. You have to be exploring to really get great value out of it. Otherwise, it's a 1 blue draw. I will try it in a Merfolk deck, but I'm not optimistic. This seems very okay to me. Very, very medium. And since I have a bajillion uncommon wild cards, I'm sorry, 298 uncommon wild cards, sure, I'll pick one up. It is 1 card for a card. Yay. You know, we can't get too excited about that anymore. Landlord Navigator, 1 and a blue for an Orc Pirate 2/1, uncommon. Whenever this attacks, create a map. Love it. At the beginning of your end step, if 2 or more artifacts enter the battlefield under your control this turn, conjure a Thieving Magpie. Oh, this is a throwback, guys. Oh my god, do you know what a Thieving Magpie is? Boomers, identify yourselves. Stand up. 2 blue, uncommon 1/3, flying bird. When it deals damage to an opponent, draw a card. This bird, you knew. Back in the day, Magic was different. This bird was my win con. I actually had to keep track of the cards in my deck because, you know, you get out like 3 magpies and you're trying to peck them to death, right? And you don't want to deck out doing it. Oh my god. Let's go. I love this. I am a sucker for alchemy cards that bring out boomer cards like Thieving Magpie. This card is okay. Obviously, we needed more pirates anyway, so it'll be great in Historic Brawl. I don't think an actual pirate deck will be much of a thing because they just aren't that power level for alchemy. But like for Historic Brawl, cool. Maybe in an artifact deck, it doesn't have to be in a pirate deck, right? It just has to be at the beginning of your end step if 2 or more artifacts enter the battlefield. So this in Emery is interesting as providing another source of card advantage outside of just play Emery again and again. Interesting. Yeah, maybe there's a place for this card that I'm not quite sure of. Yeah, I don't know for sure that there's a great pirate deck in Historic Brawl. I haven't played the new Admiral Beckett Brass, but the artifact theme gets me thinking. Hymn to the Ages is mythic. 4 and a blue, instant chorus starting in 1073. Draw a number of cards equal to the spell's intensity. So 5 mana, draw 3. All chorus cards are intensified by 1. So if you cast it again or draw it again, it's in 4, then 5. I can see this in a like Rusko Oracle of the Alpha deck in Alchemy that just kind of keeps drawing and taking turns and drawing, and yeah, that's kind of going off. This card might be good there. It doesn't seem good for Historic Brawl unless we get a lot more choruses, and it doesn't seem good for Historic. Too slow. Plunderer's Prize. X and a blue rare sorcery. Seek a non-land artifact card with mana value X or less and put it onto the battlefield. If a card with mana value less than X is put onto the battlefield this way, it perpetually gains a spell cost 1 more to cast. Then return the spell to its owner's hand. What? Return this spell to owner's hand. This spell gains 1 more to cast. So you play this for like 5, trying to hit your Paradox engine, obviously. You hit an Arcane Signet. This gets returned to your hand and now costs 1 more to cast. Kind of weird. I think that this card is much better. It's a very weird card. I can see it being pretty frustrating too. I think this card is probably at its best in, I mean, I'll try it in like decks like Emery or Joyra, but I think it will be at its best in something where the only artifact in the deck is some broken combo piece that you want to seek out. So you know exactly how much to put into it. Yeah, that's something to think about. Interesting card. Yep. Do I have one? I already have one. I do not have one. Craft. Pretty wild. Dusk's Landing. 1 black sorcery. Draw a card. If opponent lost life this turn and you gained life this turn, seek 2 vampires instead for 1 black. Ooh. So that's a good one. Remember how I was complaining about the other one? It should be draw a card and seek a merfolk. This is basically you hit the opponent with a 1/1 lifelinker and you get 2 vampires. This is ooh. I like it. I like it for the vampire decks of Historic Brawl. There might be a vampire deck in Historic that wants this. I'm thinking of the Sorin Planeswalker. Yeah, I think there is. So cool. Very cool little card. Phantasmal Extraction. 1 black sorcery. If you weren't the starting player, this spell costs 1 less to cast. It's an uncommon. Ooh, cheap. Okay. Target opponent reveals each non-land card in their hand with mana value 4 or less. Wow. Choose a card revealed this way. Choose a card revealed this way or a card in their graveyard. Exile that card. Or a card in the graveyard. This card is super generous. It's never bad. On the draw, it's really good. I mean, is that a new... I think that we'll see play in Alchemy. I'm sure that we'll see play in Alchemy. Sideboard's at the worst. In Historic Brawl, is this just a new staple? Do all the black decks want this? There are plenty of decks that don't want to spend turn 2 on a discard effect, but well, on the draw, like, it's totally worth it. This hits so many things. 4 is such a good number. Yeah, that's a good card, I think. That's a really good card. Lane Reconsecrator. 2 and a black, 3/2 Vampire Soldier rare. When this attacks, exile up to 1 target creature card from a graveyard. If you do, conjure a duplicate into your graveyard. The duplicate becomes a skeleton with base power and toughness 3/1. Keeps colors and types. When this dies, return another target creature card with power or toughness 1 from your graveyard to the battlefield. This card is weird. This is a weird card, man. It seems too narrow, right? There has to be the thing in the graveyard that you then exile that becomes the skeleton, that then it dies, that then you get it back. You have to really want to play some vampires, I think. I mean, it is just a... like, remove all that text, and what you have is a 3-mana 3/2. I don't think that's good enough. I don't think that card's any good. That card looks like trash to me. And now the Alchemy haters, you waited this long for me to call a card trash, and I did. You're welcome. Chitinous Crawler, 2 black 4/4 insect horror mythic. At the beginning of combat on your turn, choose target creature card in your graveyard. Oh god, here we go again. Conjure a duplicate into your graveyard. Exile, descend 8. Exile a permanent card from your graveyard. You may play it. Activate only as a sorcery. Only if there are 8 or more permanents in your graveyard. I think this is you can do this multiple times. So you exile the permanent, you may play it, activate only as a sorcery. Okay, so like Deadweight, you kill their thing, it goes back to the graveyard, you do it again, you do it again, you do it again. That's so narrow, though. That's so narrow. It's nice that it fills the graveyard. You do have to have a creature card in your graveyard. I don't see it, man. This looks like another card I'll never read again and feel fine with that. So yeah, we're just gonna move on from that. Mycelic Ballad? Yeah, sure. 3 and a black chorus, rare, starting intensity 2. Each player sacrifices X creatures and you gain X life, where X is the intensity. Wait, what? Each player sacrifices 2 cards and you gain 2 life just on its own? It's like bad Barter in Blood. A little better than Barter in Blood. Maybe in a mono black creatureless deck, I could see this getting a little bit of play. Pirate's Landing. Red, draw a card. If mana from a treasure was spent to cast it, seek a pirate instead. Would be a lot better if it were like the vampire one and it got you a card and a pirate. Otherwise, it's just kind of a weird cantrip. Ribald Shanty. 1 and a red chorus. Uncommon. Starting intensity 2. This spell deals damage equal to its intensity to target creature or planeswalker. Then intensify. Should, yeah. Meh. Very meh card. Kamachal, ship's mascot. 2 and a red, 2/2 legendary creature dinosaur pirate. Dinosaur pirate at rare. First the dinosaurs started banging dragons and making dino dragons, and now they're hitting on pirates, huh? All right, menace. Red, this gets +1/+0 until end of turn. Whenever this deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure. Then exile from that player's library a random card with mana value equal to damage. You may cast that this turn. That's super awkward because it has to be this turn. So like you pump your red mana into it, you can exile a bigger card, but then you probably can't cast it. It is also some funky math because it makes a treasure as well. This seems okay. Gosh, 3 mana 2/2 no haste is... You don't get to play that much these days. Ragavan at home doesn't seem like a great commander either, you know? It seems like filler for a dinosaur deck or a pirate deck, but not great in either. It is double types for Throne of the Grim Captain. Well, if there's enough of that, that could be really entertaining in Alchemy. It's not going to do anything in Historic Brawl. Yeah, I can't see playing this. Compare this to Fable, man. Of course, comparing it to Fable's not very fair, but in Historic, you do have to think about that. I will craft it because I need Historic Brawl content. So I might make a video with it, but I'm not excited. Caldera Breaker. 3 red artifact creature golem mythic 6/6 trample. When it enters the battlefield, exile all mountain cards from your library. When you do, this deals that much damage to target creature or planeswalker. So it's like 20. So when this dies, put all cards exiled with it onto the battlefield under their owner's control. Conjure 4 cards named Volcanic Geyser into your library and shuffle. Holy crap. Z Fun, I can't say the name, but thank you very much for the prime. This is Wow. Yeah, I definitely want this in Koth. And probably in other Chandra type decks. This looks so silly. So in Historic Brawl, this is the thing I'm struggling with. In Historic Brawl, obviously we want to play it in Koth and Chandra and things like that. Is it good enough for like Italy? Is it good enough for or say a landfall commander like Omnath could be absolutely silly? Like you can still probably put like 10 to 14 mountains. Does it say basic mountains? Exile all mountains. Okay, so yeah, you can probably get to like 14, 15 mountains in a 2-color deck. I mean, that's really still very good. All right, 3 colors. What if you're just getting 7 mountains? What if you just get 7 mountains? You're still dealing 7 damage to something probably, and if it dies, you ramp 7. That's still good enough, right? So how do we like cheat? Is there a way to just cheat this into play? Is there a way to evoke this or something? I want to like sneak attack this out. That could be something to really look into. Anyway, card is hella exciting. So we will craft, 100% craft. Very cool card. 1 and a green for a 3/3 fungus. Propagator Primordium. Wait, that's just a 2-mana 3/3 mono green fungus alchemy card. Okay, good start. When it enters the battlefield, conjure 2 cards, name this into your graveyard. Okay, also fills the graveyard a little. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a spore counter on it. Remove 3 spore counters to return a fungus creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. I mean, so all the text on this, all the text is mostly flavor text, I would guess. I guess a lot of the time you just want 2 mana for a 3/3, and then if you have some way to get the value out of your graveyard, or if this somehow sticks around for like 3 turns without the board getting wiped or this getting killed, you can get another one back. That's all fine. I just being a 2-mana 3/3 in green is sometimes good. Probably not for Historic Brawl, but maybe in Alchemy itself. Scale Speaker Shepherd. 2 and a green rare 2/1 human druid. When it enters the battlefield, draft a card from the spellbook. Oh god. Dinosaur spells cost 1 less. Okay. Spellbook. Imperiosaur. Burning Suns, Carnage Tyrant, Charging Monstrosaur, Italy, pretty good hit, Galta, Gishath, yeah, sweet freaking spellbook. Love this card. This card's sweet. Obviously, our dinosaur decks have an addition. So what's its color identity? Just green? If I play this in Historic Brawl, can I get these other cards? I think I can. Pretty sure I can. Mythweaver Pog. Pog? It's Mythweaver Pog. 3 and a green for a mythic cat shaman star. Its power and toughness are equal to the number of lands you control. Whenever 1 or more non-token lands enter the battlefield, for each of them... Wait, it's when 1 or more, but for each of them, so it's 1 trigger. Conjure a duplicate onto the battlefield. This ability triggers once each turn. So if I play this and I cast Invasion of Zendikar and get 2 lands, I get 2 more lands, right? Directly onto the battlefield, and this is like an 8/8. So this goes in every single landfall deck and might be an absolutely sweet commander on its own. Yes, please. Shut up and take my mythic. Works with fetch lands. It works with fetch lands if you time it right, because it triggers once a turn, right? So you need to play a fetch land on your turn, crack it on their turn. But yeah, very good. Forget Invasion of Zendikar. Scapeshift. Scapeshift gamers are different, man. They see the world through a lens of what if I scapeshift right now at all times. Wingbane Vantasaur. 2 green 4/5 uncommon dino reach. When it enters the battlefield, either conjure a Savage Stomp or conjure a Naturalize. I love it. Love the flexibility. I will try this in Dino decks for sure. Love the value. Love the flexibility. Colossal Chorus. 6 green, starting intensity 2. Conjure X cards named Colossal Dreadmaw onto the battlefield. Yeah, baby. Colossal freaking Dreadmaw. For those who don't know, 6 mana, 6/6 trample. Somehow a meme. Nope, I'm not crafting that. Reflection Net is 1 and a white blue for a flash artifact. When it enters the battlefield, exile a creature until it leaves the battlefield. And then target creature you control becomes a copy of the creature exiled with this. Ooh, that's pretty good. Yorion! I mean, there's a million of this type of effect I want to play in Yorion, but it having flash makes it so much better. High Marshal Argyll. I've actually seen this card. I just played against it in Historic Brawl. 1 white black Vampire Knight 3/1. When it dies, conjure an Argyll's Bloodfast onto the battlefield. You may transform it. It's this enchantment thing that's already on Arena. Maybe you've seen it. I love that we can't see the other side. that makes sense. The other side is a land. You can sack stuff and gain life. If you control an enchantment named Bloodfast and a land named Temple of Aclazotz, create 2 4/3 vampire demons with flying. I'll craft it. This looks like an okay card. Like, I might want to play this one in Alchemy. That seems like a good sacrifice deck, but there's definitely a few Historic Brawl decks that need a good vampire with a cool death ability. Brazen Boarding, 2 and a blue and a red, total of 4, rare sorcery, 4 damage to target creature or planeswalker. If excess damage is dealt this way, conjure a card with mana value equal to the excess damage from this spellbook onto the battlefield. If that excess damage is 4 or greater, conjure a card named Beckett Brass onto the battlefield. How do you... It deals 4 damage. If that excess damage is 4 or greater, conjure... How do you... So somehow you have to increase the damage this deals? Is what I'm getting? Maybe there's a hint in the spellbook. No, that's just a bunch of pirates. Only 4 of them, too. So what do you need to do? Torbrand type stuff? Fiery Emancipation? Yeah, I guess you just need ways to increase the damage. Seems super niche and weird. All right. Mycoid Reconstruction 4 and a black green. 6 mana for a sorcery rare. Fathomless Descent. Each creature card in your graveyard perpetually gets X+X, where X is the number of permanents in your graveyard. Then return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. All right, so we mill a huge amount of our deck. We cast this. We get back a Crater Hoof that attacks for 20-something. Doable. Way too much setup. This doesn't feel like a card for me. I'm not into it. There might be some cool combos with it. I don't feel like I have to craft it right now. Stalwart Speartail. 1 and a red green 4/4. Ooh, cheap. 3 mana 4/4. When it's dealt damage, other dinosaurs you control and dinosaur cards in your hand and library perpetually get +1/+1. Dinosaur cards in your hand and your library? Whenever this attacks, you may pay 3. If you do, 1 damage to each creature and each planeswalker. So it can also activate itself. I think this card is sweet. I don't think you have to build around it. I don't think it has to be in an enraged deck. Seems like just a good dino. Seems very strong. And kind of this Goblin Chain Whirler effect. Yes, you have to attack with it. Yes, you have to pay for it. But when you do, you might kill multiple things and buff this and buff, like, well, not buff this, but buff all the dinos in your hand and library. It's kind of cool. Very cool. People like dinos, okay? You like dinos. Chat likes dinos. Scale Soul Gnome. I played this card already in Quintorius. 3 and a red-white for a 3/5 trample haste artifact creature gnome rare. When it deals combat damage to a player, discover X, where X is the damage. Love that. Whenever you play a card from exile, conjure a duplicate. This card absolutely pops off with like cards that also exile cards, and then you play it and you conjure a duplicate of that. You can picture it just with like a Ren's Resolve or a Reckless, what is that card? Reckless Impulse. And you're just like cast that, conjure a duplicate of it, exile 2 more cards, like play a land, conjure that. Yeah, the card definitely goes off. 5 mana is a lot, but the decks that want this, such as Quintorius, really want this. So happy with the craft. Merfolk Tunnel Guide, blue and a green, 2/2, uncommon Merfolk Wizard. When it enters the battlefield, you get a 3-time boon with whenever one or more Merfolk enter the battlefield, target Merfolk you control explores. That is obviously good in a Merfolk deck. I don't know if one of those will exist in Standard. Maybe it will in Historic. Obviously won't in Standard. I mean Alchemy. Might be good in Historic. Will definitely be good in a Merfolk-related Historic Brawl deck. Pretty straightforward. These creature typal kindred strategy cards in sets like Ixalan, some of the reviews are just like, yep, vampire card good in vampires, and that's fine. Gives me a break. Tan Jalom, the World Waker. 1 and a blue and a white and a green. So 4 mana in Bant colors. 3/3, rare spirit. It's legendary, so it could be a commander. At the beginning of combat on your turn, choose up to 1 target artifact or land you control that isn't a creature or token. Isn't a creature or token. That's going to be fun to remember. Until end of turn, it becomes a 3/3 spirit with vigilance and double team in addition to its other types. Double team. So double team, I think, is when it attacks. If it's not a token, conjure a duplicate into your hand, and then both lose double team. So you turn an artifact or a land into a 3/3 vigilance that you then attack, and you get another land or artifact. That is weird. That is a weird card, but I accept. I accept. It will be a fun build around. We will probably brawl with this at some point. All right. That is the review of the Alchemy Lost Caverns of Ixalan cards. If you stayed till the end, it's probably because you don't hate Alchemy, so let me know what you think. I'll definitely have a few million comments reminding me that Alchemy is bad. So your comments reminding me that you enjoyed this actually go a long way, and let me know which card you think is the absolute best from this set. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video. You're cool.